Maseches Nazir Daf Samach Hey. The Mishnah on the bottom of Daf Samach Daldim and Beis says the halacha of Hamoitzi Meis Mushkiv Gedarkoi Noitloi Estfu Sosoi Motza Shloisha Im Yesh Ben Zelazeh from 4 to 8 Ames. It's a Shchunas Kvarois and Buidik Himenu Lalon Esrim Amo. The Chok Yaakov in Hilchos Pesach says you see from this Mishnah that if you have 3 kforos, you have to be choishish for more kforos. And he asks on that the Magen Avraham proves that if you have chitim and 3 of the chitim are bekeach and it's found to be chametz, you don't have to be choishish that all the other chitim are also chametz. And the Chok Yaakov asks, why is it different in the own Mishnah that if you find 3 Mesim, so it's like a Cheskes Gimel Palmim, you have to be choishish that there are more Mesim over here. So who are din? You should be choishish that there's more chitim that became chametz. The Nesivis, Nesef Mekor Chaim, says the answer to this kasha is that you have to be choishish when you have a Cheskes Gimel Palmim is specifically when there's a goyim that's mistaber, that there's more of the same item. Like over here, if there's 3 mesim that were buried next to each other, it looks like there's a basic kfaris. You have to be choishish, there's more kfarim. However, by the fact that there are 3 kernels of wheat that were misbekeya, it's not a raya, and it's not a chashash, that there are more chitim that became chametz. And the Sivis brings a number of rayas to this Yesoid. First of all, he brings a raya from the fact that it's mvu in the sugi in Yavamis that by Katlanis, according to Madam Mayin Goyim, it doesn't pass the svar or by a ruso, so it doesn't pertain to Allah of Chazaka. And he brings another raya from the fact that the Madam hold vestis derabonon. So why is it vestis derabonon? There's a Chazaka. So you see, since it's not mistaber that the Isha saw a real 3 times, she'll continue to see in the same time. So therefore, there's a mandama whole vestis drabonon. It's a point to point out that the Nevi Yehuda says the reason the mandama vestis drabonon and we're not choishish for chazaka gimel palmim is because keneged the cheskes gimel palmim there's a cheskes heter. I know Reb Chaim and Sefer that says that even according to mandama vestis drabonon, at the time that she sees the Riyas Bechal, the Chazaka, and the whole Machloikis, Vestis Drabonon, Vestis Deraisa, is if you have to be choishish that she will see. But he says, Mitzad halacha of Chazaka of Gimel Palmim, there's no halacha that you have to be choishish further because the more compares this halacha to Shor Hamud, and by Shor Hamud, there's no halacha that you have to be choishish that will continue to shtois. And the Mekor Chaim brings a raya from our sugi minei ubei, because why is it mavur that specifically when there's between 4 and 8 amas between the mason, then you have to be choishish to check 20 amas akoch. You see only when there's between 4 and 8 amas, then it looks like there's a basic forest, and then it's a great mistaba. However, if there's no great mistaba, you don't have to be choishish that it's a basic forest b'chlal. I the Sefer Peres Taina that asks that according to the Nesivis, the one you have to be choishish the chumra according to Rebbe, even when there's 2 mason, because we're choishish on the rices like Rebbe. And he says the answer is according to what's mvu in the Beis Shloimo, that Shchunas Kforis is Drabonon, and therefore it's Sofik Lahokal, and you don't have to be choishish by 2 according to Rebbe. Moving for the answer, mvu in the sugya that if you have a maze that's covered kedarka, there's issa to mafane him and take him out of his makom kfura. It's gepaskin Shulchan Aruch in Yehudeya, Siman Shim Samach Gimel, and the Mechaber brings specific cases that it's mutter to take the maze and to rebury him Eitzel Avoisav, or to take him to Eretz Yisrael, or if the original kfura was Al Nastaf Noisoi, or in a situation that the mace is not being watched properly in the space of forest because of goyim or because of mayim, then there's a head to mefanim to different basic forest. And there's numerous mahalchim in the maforshim to explain what the side of this is. Why is it that you can't be mefana mace mimokum the mokum? The Kolboy says the reason is because of Cherdes Hadin and it's put in the Taz and the Shach. And the Yehuda says, according to this Mahalach, if it's Nisachal HaBos and there's only Atzomas, you don't have to be Choishish. However, many Achronim ask on the Yehuda. And the Chacham Tzvi says that the Issa is because of Nivel HaMes. And it's Mavu in the Sugya in Bobas Daf Kufn and Dalid that you can't open up a cave to see if the mace had Simonim because of Nivel HaMace. And he says that the Poskim say because of Chedas Hadin is specifically when you're not opening up the Orun, so then there's no Nivel HaMace, but there is Chedas Hadin. Moshe in Igus Moshe has a number of chuvas on this sugya, and he was asked from a family in Baltimore that a lady was buried next to a gate in the cemetery, and she held it was bezoin to be buried next to the gate, and the family wanted to bury her in a different place in the cemetery. And the Moshe's Mayrich many rayas and many nekudis that in order to change a Mokum Kfura, it has to be a real bezoyin, that's a bezoyin to Rov of the world. However, if this person decided that it's a bezoyin to be buried next to this gate in the cemetery, it's not considered bezoyin b'chlal. And by the fact that she wanted to be buried in a different place is not matir, the isser to change her Mokum Kfura b'chlal. And the Moshe is Mayrich to prove although they are poskim that say that the Isser of Pina Kforos is the Abona, and Moshe says it's the Isser the Raisa, and he proves on the fact that there's a Tumah and there is the Isser Hanor, the Chazal, who goizer. In order that you should be Mefana Kforos, Akoch see the Isser is Midiraisa. And Moshe explains the reason why it's also Midiraisa is because since there's a Chi of Kfura, so therefore, if you open up the grave, that itself is mavatal biyadayim, the chiv the raisa of kfur of the mace. And Ramesh explains that the priest can bring other svaras like we mentioned before, because of bezoyin and because of cherdas adin is needed in a situation that is covered mace, or this moment of others involved that b'chai gavno there's a mokum to be makel on the chi of kfura. However, besides for the svaras of bezoyin and chedes adin is a chiv the rice of kfura. And Moshe says it's mavur in Lechem Mishnah like the Ikki Yesod, because Lechem Mishnah explains that the Rambam says that if someone's mitzvah that he shouldn't be buried ain't shoymanoi because of the mitzvah's kfura. And the Achronim asked, that's mavur in the Sugi and Sanhedrin that Mem Zayin, that's because of Bezoyin Hameis. And the Mishnah says that the Gemara said because Bezoyin Hameis is according to the man the Omar kfura is the midrabanan. However, the Rambam that paskins that the Chi of kfura is midiraisa, so therefore you don't need the svar of Bezoyin, rather because since there's a Chi of kfura, if you're not going to be koivi even isid, right? So therefore, even the mace himself can't be masna and say they shouldn't be buried. And according to this, Moshe says that's mavur that there's two different sugyas. That the sugya over here is a sugya of kfur midiraisa, and it's brought in Yodei Simin Shin Samach Dalid. And there's another sugya of bezoyin hameis, which the Yisod Dvarim is the Yerushalmi in Moed Cotton, that is brought in Siman Shin Samach Gimel. So therefore Moshe says that since he's a chiv kfur midiraisa, so therefore you can't be mevatel the kfur because of the fact that the Isha wanted to be buried in a different place. Moving further on, ein Sefer Das Kohen that discusses what's the halacha is the father Naaman to say that the kfura of his child was almanas lefnoisoi, and he discusses maybe it's Eid Echad Naaman is against this chazaki surah of the Isser Pini Ameis, and he says for Keret the Eid Echad is definitely Naaman. First of all, because the whole Isser Pini is midabonon, and it's not like a Moshe they mentioned before. According to Moshe, it's Isser deraisa. So there's a mokum to say it's Eid Echad Naaman is neged this chazaki surah midiraisa. And he says over here, since it's biyode, since the father himself could be mafana the maze, or you could tell goyim to take the mace to a different place, so therefore it's considered biyodoi, and therefore the echad is nemon b'mokim eschazik isuro. And he says further that over here it's not considered a negative eschazik isuro, because only when you're saying that there was an isser and the isser changed, it's considered a negative eschazik isuro. However, over here the father is saying there was never isser of pina mace in the first place. The Chayr could be moisev according to the tremendous yisoid we mentioned from Kovetz Nuroi in previous shurim and Yivam Estaf Peizayin and Peiches and other shurim, that echad is not nemod keneged is chazik yisuro, is involved also in shayosh like this. That's not the pshat echad is not nemod keneged a chazok bikor. Rather, it's a din mesuyim that if it's established isser Eid Echad is not Nemon, so it could be it's only when it's a Cheftzah Disur and there's a din in the Cheftzah that's also like Tevel and Nevela. However, over here, by Pina and Mace, there's no din in the Cheftzah the Mace that's also the Mefana. The whole din is on the Gavra, they can't be Mefana the Mace, so B'chai Gavna, it's not considered that Eid Echad's going Kneged is Chaz Gisur B'chlal. If the pshat will be you can't go connected a chazak mikoro, so the chazak mikoro was that you can't be mefana. But since the soida din is connected that is established, there's no cheftzah disur b'chlal, so that's not considered as chazak isura to megareya the amonas of eid echad b'chlal.